Welcome back, you lucky fans. It's Wednesday, meaning it's another list by Martin. This is Rank the Movies, and here we go. We've got my top 10 Batman animated films. So, DC, I think, has the best animated films. Marvel has released some. I haven't seen one I liked. Again, I could be wrong, you could disagree with me, whatever. I don't like them. But I like DC's animated films. So today, we're going to look directly just at Batman animated films. Next week, we're going to look at DC animated films, meaning animated films where Batman is not the main character and or Batman is not in the title. So that's what we're doing this week. So I hope you enjoy as we talk some Batman animated. First off is our honorable mention, Batman Hush. This is one of the newest Batman films that came out. It's based on the graphic novel Hush. I love that graphic novel. It is a great graphic novel. It is my second favorite Batman graphic novel that's out there right now. The movie is good. Of course, when you take a 12-issue graphic novel and turn it into a 90-minute movie, things change, you lose things, and that's fine. They cover a lot of the ground, though, from the book in this movie. They do change the twist ending of who Hush is, which a lot of people have a problem with, but I don't. Now, because I don't want to create spoilers, I'm not going to go into who Hush is. If you want to check out this movie, please do, but go into it not knowing what's going on and actually experience it for yourselves. Because I think a lot of people who have a problem with it knew the books going into it and had that expectation and were turned around on it. But basically, the general story is Batman gets injured. He calls on his childhood friend named Thomas Elliot to perform a surgery on his head. All of a sudden, Batman's villains start banding together under a new villain called Hush, who generally dresses like that. Trench coat, bandaged face. And they start banding together to try to attack Batman. But they're not just attacking Batman, they're also attacking Bruce Wayne to some level. And it's Batman trying to figure out who is Hush and how do they know how to attack him on both fronts. It is a great book. It is a fun movie. Definitely check it out, but now let's move on to the actual list. Number 10, Batman Year One. This is based on the Frank Miller graphic novel of the same name. Basically, it's about the first year of Batman. It's about Bruce Wayne coming home to Gotham and putting on the tights for the first time, meeting Captain James Gordon for the first time, and dealing with his first real criminals, which happen to be a lot of the members of the GCPD, because they were very crooked when he first started. It also introduces the character of the Roman Falcone is the main villain of this movie. He's a mob boss in Gotham. You'll see him pop back up in Batman Begins if you watch the live-action DC movies. That is the same character. He also appears in my favorite Batman graphic novel called The Long Halloween. This is the only time I get to talk about it because they haven't turned it into a movie yet. Anyways, Batman Year One, it is that nice focus on, Batman is young and inexperienced and trying to find someone to work with. In this particular movie is Captain James Gordon. And James Gordon, who's a cop from Chicago, trying to figure out how to work in Gotham, a city where crime prevails and being a clean cop isn't always the best way to go. It is a fun movie, it is a good movie, and definitely check it out. Number 9, Batman, Return of the Caped Crusader. This is the animated movie they made with the late Adam West and Burt Ward, where they get to replay Batman and Robin. It is a fun movie. It really takes a lot of that 60s camp and brings it back into the animated world. You can tell Adam West and Burt Ward are having a great time bringing back their characters that they haven't gotten to do in years. It's a fun movie. Basically, it's Batman and Robin fight the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman, and they create a machine where they can make duplicates. Batman starts making a ton of duplicates of himself and begins taking over basically every position in Gotham, including mayor, police commissioner, police chief, a talk show host, judges. He replaces basically everything with Batman. And then trying to figure out why Batman is acting this way and how to fix him and why the villains gave up so easily. It's a great movie. It's a good time, especially if you're a little nostalgic for the 60s show. Number 8, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Another movie based on a great comic book of the same name. This one is basically Superman and Batman become accused of killing the villain Metallo, who is working for President Lex Luthor. which I know if you've never read the comics, that probably sounds ridiculous. Why is Lex Luthor Superman's greatest enemy president? Not what I'm here to talk about. Anyways, he's the bodyguard for President Lex Luthor. He ends up getting destroyed. Batman and Superman are blamed for it. So they end up putting a bounty on their head, and there's a massive manhunt to stop them. As this is going on, Batman and Superman are trying to clear their names. It's an interesting movie, and it's an interesting take on the superhero idea, because it's not like them fighting crime. It's them trying to prove their innocence, that they didn't do this thing, and that it's actually all a setup to try to get the people against superheroes, especially Superman and Batman. It's a fun time. It's actually one of DC's first animated movies when they started really making them, and it was a strong, strong movie. And it is good. It did spawn a sequel called, based on the book that actually followed this one, called Superman Batman Apocalypse. It's pretty good. It's definitely worth watching. But yeah, if you've never seen Superman Batman Public Enemies, check it out. It's a fun time, even if, you know, Superman, man, but it's fun. Number 7, Batman Under the Red Hood. Again, we're talking about a movie based on a graphic novel called Under the Hood. They added the red into the title of this movie because, who knows? The plot in this one is basically Batman encounters a new villain called the Red Hood, which isn't really a new villain because the Red Hood's been around in Gotham for a long time, but this is a new incarnation of the Red Hood, who is very violent and brutal and knows Batman as Bruce Wayne. And this one's not a huge spoiler. People who know comics know the outcome of this one. It turns out that the Red Hood is Jason Todd, the second Robin, who was presumed dead years ago. And they don't even do a huge job making it a big reveal in this movie, because it kind of has to show the scene of Joker killing Jason Todd at the beginning of the movie to make the rest of it make any damn sense anyways. But that's who it turns out to be. So it ends up being Batman kind of fighting somebody he trained. And it's a great movie. It's a fun movie. It's a great story. You get a good portrayal of the Joker, voiced by John DiMaggio, who is kind of really insane and really happy once he finds out that the Red Hood is actually the Robin he supposedly murdered. And it's just, there were some great lines there, because Joker beat Robin to death with a crowbar. And as they're fighting, he's like telling Batman to take pictures of them, and he wants one of the Red Hood, him and the crowbar. It's a good time. It is definitely a movie worth watching and checking out. Number 6, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. This is the Batman Beyond film that was made while that show was running. Basically, you have Batman, or Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, who has to go up against the Joker because he's started to show back up in Gotham, even though he has been dead. Actually dead for like 20 years. But the Joker starts showing back up, and now the new Batman has to figure out how to fight Batman's old arch nemesis. It is a great story because you have this Batman who is nothing like the Bruce Wayne Batman fighting the Joker. And it really does have a great moment in there where Terry McGinnis realizes the psychological way he can get at the Joker is simply laughing. Batman never laughed at Joker's jokes. So how do you get a psychological advantage? Laugh at him. It is a great movie. It is very well done. Batman Beyond is a great series. And this is just more of that. Plus you get Mark Hamill returning to voice the Joker for this movie. And you can't go wrong with that. Number 5, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Based on the graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns. This is actually 2 movies, but they form one movie. It was long enough where they decided to cut it in half and release it as 2 separate movies. This is both. This is both halves. Basically, Batman's been retired for a generally decent period of time. Most of his villains are either dead or in Arkham. And one day, Two-Face is released after plastic surgery, saying he is sane. Unfortunately, Two-Face isn't sane and begins going up to his old tricks again. So Batman redons the cape and cowl to go after Two-Face. After that, the Joker, after seeing Batman now back in action, wakes up basically out of a catatonic state and also challenges the Dark Knight. Plus there are some new foes in Gotham in a gang called the Mutants, who are also challenging Batman's power and his throne. And you just get to see this aged Batman just whip up on some things. It is a great movie. It is great storytelling. And it's definitely worth watching. And like I said, it's 2 parts, but both parts are definitely worth the time. Number 4, Batman and Harley Quinn. This one takes place in the same universe as Batman the Animated Series, which is just a great animated series. Basically, Batman is trying to stop Poison Ivy and the Floronic Man from basically turning the world into a giant garden. So he has to get the aid of Poison Ivy's best friend, Harley Quinn, who is now a reformed bad guy. There's also Nightwing mixed in there, and there's a really awkward kind of scene where you're pretty sure him and Harley Quinn adulted. But it's a great movie. It's a really funny movie. One of my favorite scenes of this movie is Harley Quinn takes Batman and Nightwing to a villains bar, and it's just chock full of like second and third fiddle villains, like the sidekick villains from the animated series. Like you got some Mr. Freeze villains, and a giant robot clown that was in one episode, and then Batman and Nightwing beat the crap out of all of them. It is a really fun movie. It is definitely worth checking out, especially if you liked Batman the Animated Series and liked what that put out. This is just an extension of that show, and it was really worth it. I got to see it in theaters, which was amazing. Number 3, Batman Assault on Arkham. This is based in the Batman Arkham series, so the video game series. This is a movie based inside that series. Basically, it's called Batman, so I put it on this list, but it's really a Suicide Squad movie. But because it's called Batman, I decided I'd let it take a spot on this list. Basically, the Suicide Squad gets formed to break into Arkham to steal something from the Riddler. And along the way, Batman does become part of the plot. And it's a great telling of the Suicide Squad. I ragged, if you watched the last video, my favorite DC live action movies, I ragged a little on the Suicide Squad movie because it's trash. This came out first, and it kind of shows you, this is how you can do the Suicide Squad. It's done very well. You get the group, you get them formed up, and they go on a mission. It is done very well. It's very entertaining. And, it's really fun to see this kind of animated movie focusing on villains. You got Harley Quinn, you've got Captain Boomerang, you've got Deadshot, King Shark, the Black Spider, Killer Frost is among the group. It is a good time. It is worth checking out. Number 2, Batman the Killing Joke. Based on the graphic novel of the same name. This is just the story of the Joker trying to find out if one bad day can turn anyone as crazy as he is. Because, he's cuckoo balls bananas crazy. So can one bad day make anyone else as crazy as him? So he chooses Jim Gordon. And he puts him through hell. He cripples his daughter, strips him, beats him, takes him to a circus he bought just to torment his mind. All along the way, you get this great flashbacks to one of the versions of Joker's past. To one of the versions he allows to be seen by people. One of the ways he believes he became the Joker. It is a great story. It's classic. Really, the first half hour of the movie is because they had to extend the story with something with Batgirl to make it fit feature-length time. So but once you get to the main crux of the story with Joker and Batman and moving through, it becomes a great movie. And it ends with a fantastic joke. Just a great joke. And our number 1, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This is the actual movie based on Batman the Animated Series. It came out, I believe, between the first and second seasons of the show. Basically, a new villain shows up in Gotham called the Phantasm, who is killing off old mob bosses. Also showing up in Gotham is Batman's old love named Adriana Beaumont. Batman is dealing with the memories of the past of his love for this woman, where he was actually at one point forced to choose if he was going to actually become Batman or choose love before the choice is taken away from him and he is left with only the option of Batman. The Joker shows up because he actually, before he became the Joker, worked for this group of criminals and therefore is fully aware of what's going on and is called upon to try to stop the Phantasm before it inevitably kills them all. It is a fun movie. It is a great movie. And it definitely shows you that Batman the Animated Series had a staying power, not just on the television screen, but on the big screen as well, because they do a great job telling this story. Alright, if you think there's a Batman animated movie that I missed, hit me up in the comments. I can tell you the first person that says Gotham Knights, I'm going to rant at that later. Anyways, hit me up in the comments, subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you next week.